everyone. We're here with the cast and director of Lemons, and I'm so excited to talk to you today. We had a great opening night, and there's been a lot of buzz about this show. People really loved what they saw, and so I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it. My first kind of question, I kind of want to let people know what the script looks like, because it is literally just words. I had the chance to look at it, and there's no stage directions, there's no like, he moves right, or she exits, or they embrace, none of that. And so, when I watched this the first time, I really want to know, Debbie, sort of your process for shaping a show like this. Like, where do you start, and how much do they bring to the table versus like, what do you have planned?
Thank you for asking that.
That's my big curiosity when I see these shows.
What I thought was really interesting about this script, which was different compared to Lungs, for example, which is, some might say, a similar but different structure. This is also a similar but different structure to Constellations, which is another two-person show that one also jumps back and forth in time. This play does divide the scenes with little dots that are in the script. Lungs didn't do that. Lungs, you had to figure out where the different moments changed. So that was kind of nice in that it had these divides. So my first step in approaching this was trying to kind of chunk out the script in different sections as I saw it, what's the mood of each. I divided it into thirds, just so I could kind of wrap my head around it. But it does jump back and forth in time from before the law to after the loss. Then identifying and making sure that we were clear on when in the actual timeline was happening. And we all kind of collaborated on that together, because when we first approached the scripts, there were scenes that we first understood to be within one timeline that as we continued to play, we kind of like as a group discovered, oh, maybe this is actually here or there when it was happening.
Yeah.
Which was fun. It was a very collaborative process, I feel like.
Yeah. So then, when you guys were rehearsing and as actors, how was it? Because did you rehearse it in order of the script or in order of the timeline?
Of the script.
Of the script,
yeah. I think specifically with just like the sheer number of just words on the page. If we tried to do it in like order of timeline, it would have been so
broken
confusing.
my brain.
You know, because like it was really from day one. It was also like climbing the mountain of just getting the words in your mouth and in your brain.
How did you track that timeline and like the relationship that your characters have?
Personally, I highlighted in 2 different colors. To help keep that straight in my mind. That was the big thing I did to just kind of help me learn it, because then I had different visual things I was looking at.
Honestly, I didn't really. I mean, like, well, because part of it too, like Debbie said, is there were some, from day one, there were moments that we thought were like different times than they actually were, so I didn't want to really lock into anything super specific from the get-go. And when we were at the point where we were then talking about like, oh wait, maybe this is at another time, there was already so much pencil on the page that I just was like, I can't, if anything else goes on there, I'm not gonna know what any of this is.
What did I mean?
Exactly, yes. And the handwriting is so bad already in the first place that
Yeah, we usually rehearsed like one little scene chunk at a time.
Yeah.
And our kind of process was just read through it once to get the words in your mouth, and then talk about it, and then try it on our feet. And then talk about it, and then try it on our feet again.
So then you talk about trying it on your feet, and I think one thing that really makes this show special in this space, and I always love to see any show, but it's in the round. And so then what was the blocking that like when you guys kind of get to decide the structure of the play, you get to decide a little bit of the timeline, it sounds like. So how was the blocking of it, putting it together?
Interesting.
Yeah,
I've never done a show in the round before.
I've done a thrust, but not like a full all the way around. And I think it's sort of a gift and a curse, right? Because it's like, in the round, there's always going to be somebody who can't see something. So you sort of have to surrender to that, like, nobody's going to see everything. But in the same way, it's like, nobody's going to see everything, you know?
Yeah.
So while you're trying to be conscious of, like, how can we shift this a little bit so that we open the viewpoint for the majority of people, there's also times where you're just like, no, this is how it's going to work. And, like, if unfortunately you were sitting in a place where that wasn't great for that, come see it again and sit somewhere else. You know?
Yeah, I feel like we were intentional though about making sure that there were special moments for each section of the audience too. And then some scenes, again, as the play progressed, we realized, oh, this scene could be moving throughout or rotating as we go. So there's a lot of moments like that too, which was, again, just fun to discover. In my visual mind, and I don't know if I ever talked to you guys about this, maybe I did, but I really saw like the citrus of a lemon, like kind of the lines happening too. So like trying to kind of play with that with the blocking was like kind of one big lemon in the middle. But.
There was also a brief period of time where we had sort of all on accident collectively landed on like, this corner is this room, and like this corner is this part of their house. And we like sort of were doing that for a while, and then as we kept going, we were like, that doesn't really, no, actually, like, let go of that too, you know? And it's just like helpful for us to have in our minds, maybe at times, but also one of those things where it's like, you don't need to always put something that's the kitchen in the kitchen because it's just one big empty space. Yeah.
Right. And you guys have no props, there's no costume changes or set. And so that kind of gave you a lot of freedom, but I'm sure a lot of challenges. And you know, I've gotten to sit in for a few rehearsals, and this term that I keep hearing you use is this like sandbox. Like this is like our playing space in the sandbox. Can you talk about that a little bit more? And like, what that meant and how that like affected your work?
Yeah, well, the first time I've ever heard that term was when my friend Jessica Graber, who's a very super talented director and improviser, watched our improv group for the first time before she was kind of deciding if she was going to dip her toe back into the improv waters. And she said, wow, it was really, watching your improv group was like watching you all play in the sandbox. It was just so creative and collaborative, and really just getting to like watch people build a world together was so fun. And I just love that concept of world building and collaborating together, and that concept of play. So throughout the process, as we were figuring out what the tactics were for each moment and what we thought, where in the timeline things were happening, and kind of what story was being told of each moment of the play, we really talked a lot about, we'll just try it, we'll experiment, we'll play, just for fun. Let's just do this for fun and see how it feels. And so yeah, we often referenced it as, you know, it's a sandbox, it's fine. Nothing needs to be set in stone, I guess, too, was the other piece of it.
That's part of why I really love the sandbox metaphor, is because it's like you can build the castle and it can be super intricate, but it also takes just like that to make it go away and start it over again, you know? And it's like everything is always,
it's temporary.
Yes,
yeah.
And Kim Bartling always says theater is ephemeral, right? It's just for the moment, and I feel like that for the sandbox too. So yeah, depending on who's watching, depending on what your mood is, depending on what their mood is, depending on, I mean, what you experienced in that day that affects your worldview, that's communication, and that's storytelling, and that impacts us in everything we do.
So when you guys are building this world, how many, or like, what kind of conversations did you have about this relationship that these two people have? I'm so curious about how, because it's a very intimate relationship, and we get to watch the good things and some of the tough things, and before the law and how the law changes them. And so I'm really curious about how you built your relationship.
I think one of the things that I found helpful and interesting to talk about was like what the other person's triggers are. You know, when you get to like be in a relationship like they're in, where we're assuming it's at least 2 years of time, probably a lot more than that. You get to know somebody pretty well, right? And that means that you know exactly like the things that you can do that push their buttons if you need to. And I think, especially once that law gets put into place and they're sort of spiraling around each other at the same time, that is something that becomes very apparent, is like they know exactly how to like really needle the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, kind of going off of what Kit said, a lot of conversation on exploring the depths of their relationship and what triggers them, what maybe coerces them, how to base whatever motivations are regarding whatever the scene was. And so, well, how did you feel? How does your character feel in this moment? How do I explore to accomplish whatever I'm trying to get from you? We did a lot with, here's a word, play this word. Here's your tactic. And Debbie had a book that she would pull out and be try to educate, try to. And so I have so many wonderful words to find the action behind.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We also talked a lot about what's important to each character. And every human being wants to feel seen and heard, right? But what specifically is it about each person that they want to be seen and heard by the other person? We talked a lot about that. And something else we talked about just a couple days, so it wasn't a major theme, but we talked a little bit about love and respect. Do you remember that? How oftentimes in relationships, a common thing, not for everybody, but a common thing in heterosexual relationships is that men really want to be and feel respected, and women really want to be and feel loved. And so we talked about when is that true for them and when is it flipped for them too. Sometimes Oliver really wants to be and feel respected, and sometimes he really wants to be and feel loved, and vice versa. And so that was interesting to get to watch evolve over their time together. But something else that really, is huge for their relationship is the work that you did with them too, with the intimacy. So and I know you weren't expecting me, but if you want to talk about that, the intimacy work that you did with them. I know we've talked about how collaborative and how much you like to kind of collaborate at when you do that kind of work with actors. Can you talk a little bit about that process and what that was like for you?
Yeah. Well, I think that's sort of one of my favorite things about watching the show is sort of how the intimacy grew and you really made it your own. And I love working with you, but I love this process specifically, and I love two-handers because I just feel like we get to dig so deep. But the relationship that you guys have formed, even off stage, there's so much trust there. And so I really loved watching you guys build that. That was a huge privilege for me to kind of be a part of in a small way. And so, I loved all the moments that we kind of all shaped, the four of us together, but all these moments that you found, just the two of you too.
Yeah.
And the intimacy, I think, has really, really helps propel the story forward. Yeah. So that's definitely one of my favorite things that I get to watch. What are some of your favorite moments in the show?
Ooh.
The car scene. The car scene. I did that backwards, but
Well, it depends on
who.
Yeah.
Just so sharp and fun and clear that you're listening to each other while also talking at the same time. It's just such a truthful, relatable moment for people that, even last night you could just hear the audience viscerally oh, I've been there. They were with you in the car scene, so that was great.
Actor me and person me, I think I really like the scenes that we do that are in the cemetery, because they're the few moments in the show where they're actually moving in the same direction physically, and then also a lot of the time in the same mental space. And it's nice that they get for us as Mo and Kit, but then for Bernadette and Oliver, it's nice that they have these moments throughout the script where they get to come back, reconnect, check in with each other, and feel grounded in them. Those are helpful for me in the process for sure.
This surprised me, but I was thinking about this the other day, and I really enjoyed the Prince of Bel-Air scene. I was very afraid of it for a while, and then I just decided, you know what? We'll see what happens, and just allowing myself to be unkempt in that has been delightful. So
I think it's a lot of the audience's favorite moment. It's so good. Yeah.
One thing that's been really, one thing that just brought me so much joy last night was hearing the audience's response. And it's so fun, on an opening night. And I think Debbie and I got to sit in for a few rehearsals this week, but Debbie's been watching it from the beginning. But I remember, Kit, you specifically asking, is this funny?
Yes,
I'm worried it's not funny.
Well, it's the thing of you're in such a small room of people, right? There was maybe at max 4 or 5 in the rehearsal room at a time. And it's great because you get to feel so comfortable with these people, and it I think builds that collaboration that you were talking about, where it's nobody is scared to say anything, nobody's scared to ask anything, nobody's scared to try anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think then the flip of that is, it's those people all the time,
Right.
And it's okay, I know what we think about this in this tiny little bubble right here, but when we pop the bubble and then other people get to see it, are we sure it's is it what we actually think is going on? If the mirror gets so yes, I'm having a stroke. It was daunting, but also we just had to we had to trust each other because there was no other way to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Before opening night last night, Kit and I were hanging out, and I was like, I really hope people laugh. And we were just kind of reflecting on his comment he had made the other night. And then after we got done, we go back there and we're like, oh, the first moment that they laughed, I felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just okay, this is just so much relief of, okay, we're all here, and we have this thing.
Yeah.
We worked really hard on it. Please like it, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, the truth is funny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think you both do a really good job of just telling the truth from the perspective of these characters in the show. I also imagine that different audiences will find different things.
Oh,
absolutely.
That'll be really interesting
Yes.
tonight to see
Very excited.
what differently gets responded to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about that? Because you were never worried about the show being funny. When you read it, were you this is so funny? Did you know it was funny? Or when you saw them do it, did that give you ideas? Or how did that work? Because you knew from the get-go that this was, people were gonna laugh.
Oh, yeah.
They were gonna enjoy themselves.
Yes,
for this one.
I've always known that it's a funny play, a funny / serious play, but overall would end in lightness. I will say, watching Kit's initial audition video was he finds the comedy. He knows where the comedy is and knows how to really quickly find it. So I knew from the get-go that we were going to collaborate really well on this piece. And yeah, just getting to, and I know Mo's funny because we just did obviously our comedic roles together.
Right. Yes.
So yeah, I haven't been worried about that. But I know something that we preach all the time in improv is that the truth is always funnier. And one of the rules of improv that I always teach is don't try to be funny.
Right.
So I know that's been something that we've talked a lot about is finding the truth of the moments and knowing that would come about naturally in those moments, that the more honest we are about, just because the script is inherently about a relationship and the way and it's just so relatable. It's so relatable, I think, for so many people, the things that these people navigate together and how, I know we always talk about the things they say are ridiculous, and they even say that to each other, you're being ridiculous,
literally.
right? That's a line.
Uh-huh.
And that when you deliver that from a place that's truthful and honest and sincere, the ridiculousness is what makes people believe you. I don't know. Or the honesty is, it's great. I don't know if I was very clear.
Well, mixed with all of the funny and all of the joy that I think this show brings, I think it also brings a lot of levity, and you sort of talked about this beautifully in your director's note. But one thing that I know Bernadette says kind of repeatedly is like, I didn't think it would pass. I didn't think, she has like a few lines, I didn't think it would pass. It's a bad lie, I didn't think this would happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the takeaways for me. And I'm just wondering if there's anything that you are hoping the audience takes away. Like,
I don't know if this is necessarily like a specific thing, but I hope that like people leave this and at least examine for themselves, like, okay, we got to see a lot of what those two people think is important to talk about and like think deserves the time and the words. Where is that in my life? Like, what are the things that I experience and that I engage with that I feel are necessary and important enough to put words to? And it could be like, you know, the big social issues, the politics, the like huge I love you moments, but it also could just be like, you know, it's important to have those like tiny moments of connection or something. Yeah, so that's my like hope that people take away, or at least what they think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding out what values you have, what actually matters to you, whether it's the big moments, maybe it's the small moments, because there is beauty in sometimes the more mundane, minute aspects of a relationship, just some of that nuance there. And honestly, not being afraid to express that, whether it's with someone you agree with or disagree with, and being able to have healthy discourse surrounding that.
Yeah,
So
that's what I love so much about this show is that this couple, while they're on the same side, they don't always agree.
right.
Right? And they don't always see things the same way. And the fact that they still love each other through that, I think, is really beautiful. Communication is precious.
Yeah.
That's what I want people to take away. Communication is precious, and the way we communicate with each other needs care. And I think that there's a lot of noise in the world right now of people taking communication for granted in the way they treat each other, the way they talk to each other. I know that's one of Oliver's lines. And democracy, as Oliver says, is about voices being heard. So being able to see, hear, listen to one another is just one of the vital things that keeps people alive and free and well. So it's precious.
well said. Well, thanks, you guys. I like talking about this stuff. I really enjoyed working with all of you, and I'm just so proud of this piece, and I hope you all are too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for